Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
Broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have a fabulous show for you. We have Accelera Solutions on the line with us, and I'm really excited about this episode because, as always, I record the intro and closing after the fact, so I know what the interview is going to be like, and this is a fun interview. Accelera is an integrator out on the East Coast of the United States, and some really smart guys, and very experienced, been around for quite some time, and today we have José with us, one of their main guys over there, and he just does. We have a lively conversation. I will say this is on the longer side of my podcast, a little bit longer than usual, but that's because we had so much fun recording this thing and just went on and talked about numerous different subjects, from what they're doing with their Connected Workspace all the way into to the industry as a whole. So I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. If you have to break it in two, please do. But I think you guys will have some fun listening to it and learn a lot, too. So with no further ado, let's just dive into it. My interview with José from Accelera Solutions.
Okay, José, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today, to be with us today and chat about what you guys are doing. I'm looking forward to this. So as always, let's get straight to it, which is sort of funny because we don't get straight to it. We always, anytime for the guys out there listening, anytime that I do one of these podcasts, I usually talk to my guests for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Today, José and I talked for, I think, 40 minutes. So we're not getting straight to it. We're getting straight to actually recording. So thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to this today.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on. Really, really honored and very thrilled that we could make this happen.
Oh, absolutely. This is great. I love chatting with guys like you. So for those who don't know who you are, can you tell us who you are and what do you do over at Accelera Solutions?
Absolutely. So my name's José Arvelo. I'm one of the practice managers over at Accelera Solutions. I really head our end user computing practice, what that we call the workplace practice. And so I've been in IT for about 15 years. Before I joined Accelera Solutions, I worked for a local community bank, where I led our cybersecurity and system engineering. So today, I've accumulated a wide range of experience, right? I know what it's like to be an end customer, right? Where, I'm wearing different hats. One day I'm doing cybersecurity, the next day I'm doing, Citrix work, right? The next day I'm helping our operations team with their line of business application. So I know what it's like to be a customer and be pulled in a million different directions because the business has a million different things that they need from you. I turned to consulting services because I wanted to really kind of expand my personal experience, my personal value, and I really wanted to see how other organizations worked. I wanted to see how IT and other organizations worked. So that was really kind of my driving passion behind turning into consulting services. And ever since I joined Accelera Solutions 6 years ago, I started as a systems engineer and worked my way up, right? I now lead the team of which I was a member of originally. And I'm just incredibly proud of the team and the growth that I've seen in the company in the past 6 years myself. And I have to say, I'm very passionate. One of the things that I've learned about myself in the past 6 years, and the thing that I think I love the most about my job is that, I get to sit down with customers and really identify their pain points, right? I really try to get an understanding of their business objectives or personal objectives, and then I try to link those objectives up with technical solutions, right? Whether it's Citrix, whether it's VMware, whether it's iGel, right? My job is to help them be successful and plan a course of action, right? Help them roadmap their future. And I'm really passionate about that. I really think that technology really has allowed humanity become a better version of themselves. And the lifestyle that we lead in the modern society is a direct result of just the fact that we have great technologies like mobile devices, right? Like tablets and mobile phones and personal computers, and we have wearables, right? So I'm really optimistic about the future, and I think that right now we're at a point where there's a lot of different things kind of stirring in the pot, right? Where things they're about to get a lot more interesting. So anyways, that's a little bit about myself and what I do and my team there.
Well, that's we'll get into the things in later on in this conversation, but I can't wait for that part. We're gonna have some fun chatting about that stuff. Where the future's going and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
But that's interesting. Another comment I'll make too is I really like the fact that you work for a customer and now a partner and now a integrator type because you said it well perfectly is I've had in my career, I guess, in my professional life, I've had the perk of the benefit of working for a customer, a integrator, and a vendor. And I think what you get out of that is that 360 that and you said it too, you get to understand, what the customer wants. So now when you're at Accelera Solution, you can give them because you're really helping the old you, right?
Exactly.
And
exactly, right. And as an integrator, right, my needs, right, and my wants are not necessarily the customer's needs or wants,
that's exactly right.
So you've got to, some people I find in my line of work, sometimes that becomes very difficult for some folks in my line of work. And anyway, I strive to kind of move beyond that, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if it's not about the customer, it's not about their success, you're never going to succeed either.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Their success is your success, and if you don't understand them, like for example, my example is always, I worked for a vendor, and then I worked for a partner integrator, and then I went to go work for Citrix. And when I worked for Citrix, the biggest thing I learned was, so that's why they were bugging us for this information. And now it makes sense. I understand what they needed it for. And now it's like, so you get to, I don't know, it's just that it completes the picture, right? And what you're able to do is actually give them a better, in your case, a better customer experience, right?
Exactly.
It's really great. I recommend it. People can't live in their own, walled garden forever. Go experience the world, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is cybersecurity. Wow, that's quite interesting. Can you maybe share something about your cybersecurity past? I mean, or what was it like from then until today? Because nowadays with, WannaCry just a few weeks ago, right? And everything that's going on today, it's like blown up. Well, what do you think?
Yeah. So when I was the cybersecurity officer at the bank, my primary responsibility was just to make sure that we had systems in place that prevented some sort of attack, right? That we had some sort of protections in place, and that we were doing our due diligence, right, to make sure that we had firewall monitoring in place, we had antivirus in place, those sorts of things. And what's interesting to me is that although today there seems to be cybersecurity is become more elevated, right, in people's minds, I think at the heart of it, from my perspective, a lot of things just haven't changed, right? You're still trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guys, right? So that's still the story, right? I remember when I really had my ear down to the ground in that industry, you would hear about a new malware every week or so, or every other week. But the cycle was the same, right? You find that there's a new piece of malware out there. Well, now I got to go through, patch my systems, right? Have an understanding what the impact of that malware could be, right? And what can I do to protect against it, right? And so the core of it is still the same. People are talking about cybersecurity, and I think cybersecurity in general has just elevated itself so much more than before. I think before it was really more of, hey, listen, you know what, we're federally mandated to have some sort of cybersecurity program, so we're going to invest in creating one, right? So it was more of a reactive sort of attitude that I think a lot of organizations had. I think now that's starting to flip, right? I'm starting to see cybersecurity being more of a proactive thing, right? It's part of the solution building process. It's part of the organization building process. So again, the core is the same, but I think, I think people's general attitudes around cybersecurity have changed, and I think it's a really, really good thing.
Yeah. Well, nowadays it's almost, back then I think it was sort of reactionary or something you had to, it's like, oh, I got to do this, and where now it's like first and foremost, right? It's at
Exactly.
the front of the funnel instead of the, oh crap, I got to add this too. Don't forget that, type of deal.
Right. And you were at Synergy along with me and our 5,000 other friends this year.
Yeah.
And one of the big topics was cybersecurity, right? So to me, that tells me that Citrix is, as a company, they're getting it, right? I think they've always had a security story.
Oh, yeah.
There's always been a security aspect to their solutions. It's just, I think Citrix really put that front and center this year, which is really refreshing. It was really nice to see. But that's really a reaction to the marketplace, right? That's that's them adjusting to that security sort of first mentality that customers are starting to adopt.
I think you're exactly right. And whenever I explain Citrix to somebody, and I have for, the 20 years I've been in this space, gosh, I'm getting old. Where'd that happen? So anyway, it's secure by design, right? Because that stuff's in the back end and always sending across the wires the deltas. It's the same story I've been saying for literally 20 years now. It's secure by design. Security's always been in the name. It's just nowadays they threw it in every single name and every single slide, which was quite interesting to me because it was like, oh my, they just jumped onto this buzzword, but they've always been doing that. They've
always been doing it.
It's not fake. You know what I mean? It's
exactly
what it is. So I loved it. So let's get to the second question. Although I'm having fun. Can you tell me about Accelera Solutions? What do you guys do over there? What's your main focus in life?
Sure. So Accelera Solutions. So we are what's known as in the industry as a value-added reseller. So not only do we resell kind of technology solutions like licensing, Citrix licensing, and VMware licensing, and hardware and stuff like that. We also provide consulting services and professional services from a managed services perspective, and also if a customer needs expertise, on site, from a full time, right? We're able to kind of staff as well, right? Yeah. And anyway, so we're headquartered in Fairfax, Virginia. We're right outside Washington, D.C. Our largest office is in Charleston, South Carolina, with a couple of smaller offices in San Antonio, Chicago, and Denver.
Oh wow! I didn't know you guys were so diverse, so spread out.
We are, yeah. So what's that allowed us to do is that's allowed us to serve specific customers in those regions. At the end of the day, we will go wherever our customers want us to go. So we also do a lot of work nationally. I myself have gone out to Washington State and California, right, to do work. One of my architects just wrapped up a project with a customer out in California. He was out there for 6 weeks, right? But it was a new XenApp build, 4 sites, and he was able to knock it out within a very short period of time. But again, right, if the customers got the money to pay for us to be on site, we'll be there, right? It doesn't matter where they are, right? Again, customers are always right. We're very customer first, right? Yeah. So wherever they want us to go, we'll go. We also do a lot of remote work too. So I've started to see a big shift in our customers' mindsets, where they're a lot more comfortable with having experts like us work with them remotely, right? So we have the technology, we have the power, right? We have things like GoToMeeting and Skype, right? That give us the ability to work remotely on a lot of these things. So we're also capable of doing that. To answer your question specifically, kind of what our niche is and kind of what we are and who we are and what we do, we've been in this industry for a very long time. We were founded in 2002, really as a Citrix-focused services firm, right? And so at the time, we were really doing XenApp, right? Presentation server, right? MetaFrame XP, right? That was the core of our business when we first started. And then we expanded that to include server and desktop virtualization, right? I mean, VMware was coming to market and really coming out with robust enterprise-grade solutions. And our leadership saw that was the future, right? The future was no longer going to be in managing hundreds or thousands of physical servers, right? It was going to be in virtualizing workloads and getting some of the benefits that you get from virtualization. And of course, beyond that, because we're in the ecosystem, we also work with other third-party ecosystem partners, right? So like iGel, we've worked with AppSense in the past, NetApp, Tintree, right? So we've worked with all of the key players in the industry. And because we started kind of, coming up with all this past performance with application virtualization and then server virtualization and desktop virtualization, we quickly started to become kind of the go-to organization around the Beltway for anything related really to virtualization. And one of the things, as a matter of fact, speaking of virtualization, one of the things that we're really known for in the marketplace is that we implemented and we continue to maintain one of the world's largest implementations of XenApp. So we currently work with DHA, and we maintain a 55,000 seats worldwide implementation of XenApp.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. That's I love it. Can you share any insights on that? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the reason, so one of the things that really the thing that's really powering that use case and the need that the customer had was that they have a medical records application that they call Alta, and they kind of were struggling ensuring that they had consistency between facilities, right? So you'd have one facility with Alta with one set of data, right? Then you have a separate facility with Alta with its own independent set of data, right? So there was really those sites really didn't talk to each other. Excuse me. And so what we did is we went in and started centralizing their Alta implementation with XenApp, right? So today we've grown that environment, that worldwide environment. We've grown it to a team of up to, I think we're about 40 people today, led by Joseph Wilbanks and Lawrence Armstrong, who have been really done a magnificent job really keeping that customer happy, providing value to that customer. So because the core is XenApp, there's also some other third-party technologies like AppSense that are in play there. Anyway, and they've also done a really nice job at kind of just growing that relationship and growing that business into multiple programs. So I'm really, really proud. To me, that's kind of our crowning achievement so far, that 55,000 seat implementation. And I think it's not just the technology there where I think we're succeeding. I think we've really become a trusted advisor to DHA, right? I mean, that's really where I think we thrive in as a company. I think that's where customers want to see us provide, people like us provide value at. And I think that's what we've had a long-term relationship there.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. That's very interesting. I bet that helped you. And I heard you guys have a new offering, or I don't know about a new. You have an offering called the Connected Workspace, and which is sort of I'll let you describe it. I don't want to try to describe it. I'll let you do that. But I bet you learned a lot from this customer to build something like what the Connected Workspace is. So that being said, can you tell us about what is this Connected Workspace?
That is a great question, Doug. So like you mentioned, right? So we've learned a lot from this customer. We've learned a lot from a lot of other customers. So we've been doing this so long that we've gotten a ton of Partner of the Year awards, right? We've been, I think, a 5-time Citrix Partner of the Year recipient. We have been the Microsoft Public Sector Cloud Partner of the Year for 2 years in a row. And by the way, that award has only been available for 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, right. So the reason I mention those things, besides bragging rights and something that I'm personally very proud of, is that I think those are things that really are a testament to the level of expertise that we bring customers. And the solution that we built, Connected Workspace, is a manifestation of all the years of experience that we have. So to directly answer your question, the Connected Workspace is really a secure desktop and application delivery platform managed and hosted by us, by Accelera Solutions, in our secure cloud provider network, right? So you're probably, what the heck does that mean, right? So that means we're partners with AWS, partners with Microsoft Azure, right? So we've got capabilities, and then we also have our own cloud capability. So we've got the ability to configure or set up a Connected Workspace instance for customers just about anywhere, right? And as part of that, we include a secure virtual desktop, right? That's something that I think a lot of users need. You need a desktop to interact with. You need your applications. So the applications that we provide as part of our Connected Workspace offering is email and Microsoft Office, right? We can also host your applications as a customer, right? So we have the capability, we have expertise in the installation and integration of a wide variety of applications, ranging from applications specific to the Fed space, but also, that legal. We also have a lot of folks in the medical industry, right? So we've got a wide range of experience, financial, right? So we have a wide range of experience with kind of integrating applications. Then we also include kind of cloud file storage and sharing, right? So there's a couple of options there that we can integrate with the solution. Since we are a Microsoft partner, we can definitely integrate OneDrive with our Connected Workspace solution. And since we are a Citrix partner, we can also do Citrix share file as well. And to kind of tie everything together, right, there's 24/7, 365 support provided by Accelera. And what I think what's interesting is that over the years, so we've had a Connected Workspace, we have a desktops as a service offering for years. I think we were one of the very first people to really truly invest in bringing a desktops as a service offering to market. And I'm starting to see just higher and acceleration, right, in cloud consumption and cloud services, people interested in services like desktops as a service. So one of the things that we're really honed in on was, how do we productize this offering so it is palatable for our customers, right? So how do we productize this thing so that it's affordable and it's something that customers, that's attractive to customers? And so what we've been able to do is essentially create an offering that costs less per user, costs less than the cost of your monthly cell phone bill, right? So to me, it's really powerful that we can power, right, our customers' workspaces for less than the cost of your monthly cell phone bill.
Well, my monthly cell phone bill is quite high.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's true. It is high, but that's because I'm in Europe and I'm in America. I'm not your average cell phone user.
Oh, I bet you're not. So definitely our offering is probably far less on the cost of your personal monthly cell phone.
Yeah. Sorry to throw a wrench in your pitch there, but I thought I would do that for you.
Oh, no worries.
They're like, oh my. Well, that's really great. That's really great. Yeah. So, what kind of problem? Why? This is a great question for people, or it's always the why. Why cloud? Why this? Why DAS? Why are you guys the right guys to do this? Why should a customer care about what you're doing? What are the problems you're trying to solve? You know what I mean? Why not do it on-prem? You know what I mean? And I bet that's probably the first question you get if someone, or they're like, we've been thinking about this, but why should we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just so everyone's aware, I mean, so we can do a desktops as a service offering without it being hosted in a public cloud and without it being hosted in Accelera's cloud. So if you have an environment and you've chosen that you want to focus on other things, right? You want to shift your focus away from taking care of essentially messing with the plumbing, right? We'll mess with the plumbing with you so that way you can focus on what's really important to drive your so you can help drive value to your business, right? Instead of messing with speeds and feeds, with storage, with networking, all that sort of stuff, we can handle all that stuff. So we can do this stuff on premise as well. And we have a separate managed service offering to do that, where we can do we can be as hands on as customers want us to be, or as hands off as customers want us to be.
Cool.
Right. So anyway, so we do have a lot of flexibility there. There's no silver bullet for to solving our customers' needs. So anyway, so typically
more of a managed service solution than a desktop as a service solution, right? In this,
right.
the DaaS is, when you think DaaS, I think of a cloud hosted delivered desktop, right?
Right.
Not
right.
although everyone I talk to nowadays has blurred that line. So it's really on-prem, off-prem, almost more of a managed services solution, which is the best way to do it, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, right? It's really a managed service. To me, the desktop is a delivery vehicle.
Yep.
Right. That's all it is, right? It's a delivery vehicle of applications and data.
Yep.
Right. And how you manage it and how much time you spend as a customer, right, managing that environment, is really where we can come in and take some of those things off your plate, so you can focus on delivering business value. So I think what's happening is, so back when I was, in my days in the financial industry, IT was always a reactive part of the organization that you needed to have, right? It was something that the business has computer systems and networks or whatever, and so you need people to support those systems and networks and stuff like that. And anyway, so IT was really more of a necessity, right? It was something that wasn't necessarily providing a ton of value to the business, but it was a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And what's happening is I'm seeing more and more customers starting to leverage IT as a true driver of business success, right? And having IT really help build the business, right? So it used to be, right, you had a reactive IT posture where somebody else would come in and really dictate to IT what needed to happen. I'm starting to see more customers that are starting to leverage an IT as a competitive advantage, right?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I'd like my customers to start thinking that way, right? Start thinking of your IT services and your IT folks as part of your competitive advantage. Right now,
what do you mean by that? Competitive advantage to hiring employees, to providing services for your customer? What do you mean by competitive advantage?
All of the above, right? So if you look at kind of the culture out there from an employee perspective, we look at kind of the pool of folks that are in the marketplace looking for a job. Those folks have certain expectations as far as how they want to work, right? So it used to be that the enterprise market really dictated the consumer market. I think, several years ago, we saw a shift in that. Several years ago, the buzzword consumerization of IT started being flung around everywhere.
Yeah.
And the reason that was being flung around everywhere was because end user expectations were changing, right? End users were expecting a great end user experience whenever they're using their applications and their desktops. They started demanding to start using their personal devices, right? If you can deliver Word and Excel to a Dell laptop, why can't you deliver that, the same experience to a MacBook? Why can't you deliver the same experience to a tablet device, right?
Yeah.
And so employee expectations are changing. And if you start looking, for another, 10 or 20 years down the line, 10, 20 years from now, the vast majority, if not everyone in the workplace for the most part, is going to be a digital native, meaning that they grew up in the computer age, right? That they've grown up in around computers. Have had a computer in the home. They've had a computer in their school systems, right? And so that's the expectation from end users. IT has had, because there's that expectation, IT has had to consumerize themselves, right, to create a great end user experience for the customer. So we worked with a customer. Great example of that is we worked with a customer out in Washington State a little over a year ago, and we did what we call a desktop transformation assessment for them. And what that desktop transformation assessment essentially is, we go in, we do interviews with their staff, and we try to take a look at how they're computing. Okay, and what's working in the computing environment, what's not working, what applications they use, what hardware they use, right? Are they primarily, a Dell shop, right? Are they primarily, an Apple shop, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And so what we found was really refreshing about working with that customer was that the CIO was very, very focused on the end user experience and what the outcomes were for the end user community. Because in his mind, if whatever solutions we offered up didn't resonate with the end users and the solution weren't packaged in a way that was easy to onboard, easy to use, then no matter what technology we put in front of the end user, that the project would essentially be a failure, right? And so that particular customer, they go above and beyond in order to package things in a way that's really easy for the end users to consume. So one of the things that they did was they had done a Skype implementation. I'm not sure whether they worked with some other integrator or whether they did the Skype implementation themselves. But the secret sauce that they had was that they developed a scripted way, an automated way to onboard their users from their old physical phones to Skype for Business, right? So they migrated from old phone technology to new phone technology to a modern phone infrastructure, and all the end user had to do was press one button. They didn't even need to call IT to do it, right? Yeah. So to me, I think IT is starting to really get it, and so we've got to provide great end user experiences to our end users. And then on the business end, I think there's a lot of innovation happening just in the technology space. I mean, everything's starting to become on demand, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a Netflix user.
Yep.
The thing that I love about Netflix is the fact that I can watch whatever show I want whenever I want from any device that I want, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts. I'm a big fan of podcasts, right? I listen to your podcast as well. You're on my list. And the thing that I love about podcasts is that is an on-demand experience too, right? I can listen to that podcast whenever I want, wherever I want, right? So there's a lot. So businesses are being kind of stretched out to start being able to provide on-demand services, right? Uber is another great on-demand service, right? I mean, I need to get transportation from point A to point B. Well, let me, use my app for that, right? So that's a business totally driven at the core, right, by technology.
Yeah.
Right. And so other industries like the banking industry, right, have innovated over time to create great end user experience, a great user experience, to create competitive applications in order to stay ahead of the competition. Look at the mobile payment industry. That was before Square. That really wasn't an industry really at all, right? And now everyone's got their own, mobile payment system, right? Yeah. Apple got into that business. Google got into that business. So to me, that's a great example of how technology is helping drive business outcomes. It's really at the core of the offering to the customer. So if we see, so as we start seeing more CIOs embrace that sort of mindset, we're going to start seeing some really interesting things in the enterprise space because there's this reinvigorated, focus on IT really being a differentiator for the business.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. In the old days, you were told what to do, or we told people what to do, which is actually one of the joys of old IT, right? As I said, I've been doing Citrix for 20 years now, which is quite strange. But anyway, it's been a wonderful 20 years, to be honest with you. But, in the early days, we got to say, you will have this, you will get this app, you will do it this way. No, you will not have that. We were gods, we were powerful, it was a great existence, right? And now
Right.
end users, remember those days, how much fun it was? And nowadays it's the complete opposite, where they tell us what to do, and like you mentioned, Netflix, we've truly and it's across the board. We've gone to a subscription economy, right?
Yeah.
And which makes sense when you start thinking about things like managed services. Why would you do this yourself? Why don't you get the experts to come in and do it? It's just, and if you think about the beginning of the cloud as we know it, not the internet piece of the cloud, but the cloud services piece of the cloud, right? It's what was the benefit? Oh, well, you had the experts do it. You hired the experts.
Right.
It's I can go to get myself movies, but it's great when I have all the movies, right? And I could just get what I want. I can figure it out myself, but it's great when it's already figured out for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what? So I was when I was a customer, when I was on the customer end, I was a consumer of a managed service. So I'll tell you specifically from my personal experience, one of the things that I was tasked with, because I was in charge of the cybersecurity program, was making sure that essentially we had some sort of monitoring of our firewall and intrusion detection systems and all those sorts of systems on the edge of the network. And as a small team, it was very, very difficult for me to support those things while also providing value in other things that the business was essentially putting on my plate, right? So I started looking at different vendors, right? And I eventually went to a managed service provider that provided me with essentially a security operations center, right? So I had this expert, right? An expert in security and managing firewalls and managing intrusion detection prevention systems, right? And essentially I had an entire team of folks backing me up if something were to happen. Right. So that's my personal experience right there of leveraging a managed service. And that's why I really believe in this stuff, right? I really do believe in this stuff because I myself have seen the benefits of not having to mess with the plumbing, not having to spend, all my day looking at logs, right? No, who wants to do that really? Let's be honest. That's why, I hired another team to do that. So anyway, so that really was able to help me shift my focus on new initiatives, and fixing other higher priority items as opposed to having to deal with the plumbing.
Yeah. Do you see customers being receptive to, or people in general, not just your customers, but people in general being receptive to this idea of having other people do the work for them, outsourcing things, in a way, because you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's definitely a customer education process that we go through, right? Where we try to identify areas where having some sort of managed service is really going to help them out from a professional perspective and really help out their business. So that's one of the things that we try to do. But yeah, there's definitely some hesitation. I think some people have the idea that, we're going to have these guys come in and they're going to do everything Citrix and there's what am I going to do, right?
Yeah,
What's
that was going to be my next question is, do they see themselves as taking away their jobs? It's like, oh my God, I just outsourced my job,
Right. And that's not the case, right? So that's not what ends up happening, right? So, and that's certainly not my goal. My goal is not to take jobs away, but my goal really is to help those people focus on elevating themselves, right? So whenever I engage a customer like that and it becomes very obvious that they're afraid that I'm essentially going to take their job away, I really try to go above and beyond trying to reassure them, no, this is to elevate you, right? Do you really want to spend all your time dealing with your stores? Do you really want to spend your time dealing with routers and switches, right? No, chances are you don't. There's other things that the business wants you to do, and that you should be doing. You really, by all rights and means, you should be focused on. Don't focus on those things, right? Help me help you elevate yourself within the organization. Now, with that said, there is still, because of the way that we have our offering set up, if the customer wants to still be somewhat hands-on with our Connected Workspace offering, there's still a certain amount that they can do themselves. So if they want to manage their own image, by all means, manage your own image, right? We're taking storefront away. We're taking NetScaler away from you, right? So that way you're not bogged down in those things. We're taking the licensing piece away from you, so you don't have to worry about that. Your value is in the applications and data. Manage those things. By all means, more than happy. And if you need help, give me a call. I'm more than happy to help you with that, right? So it's not like they have to totally step away from those things anyway. And then the other thing too is we stay pretty engaged with our customers too. So we do follow on calls and meetings with our customers just to tell them how the service is working, go through the list of issues that we've encountered and that we proactively fix in the environment, right? Because again, there's proactive monitoring and remediation included with this. And so it helps them continue to stay engaged. So it's not like they have to completely back away from what they do. It truly is about elevating them and elevating their business.
Makes total sense. And I like the way you describe it, because that's how I've always seen it too. And you're just a lot more eloquent and articulate than I am.
Thanks.
Right?
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much.
I will take that pat on the back.
I will give it to you again. So, okay. So how do you guys package this Connected Workspace? You sort of told us a little bit. You can get it like on-prem, off-prem, managed to halfway managed, Can you talk a bit about the offering and, how it's packaged, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing that I do want to say about the offering is, this is not just a reference architecture that we built here. This is a true live platform that we built for our customers. And so it comes in a couple different flavors. So we have a multi-tenant desktops as a service solution, right? And that's broken out in a couple of tiers. So we have a standard tier that is really focused around kind of baseline users that really task workers, right? That are using Microsoft Word and doing some web browsing, right? That sort of worker. So that's kind of the first kind of entry level tier that we have. Then we have a higher level tier, which is a higher performance Windows virtual desktop for knowledge workers, right? So this is somebody that's doing working with more complex applications. Maybe they work in accounting, right? And they're dealing with with financial applications. So they need a little bit more horsepower powering their desktop experience. So that's what the enterprise offering that we have. We also have a high performance desktop, right? So this is somebody that's doing graphic design, folks that are doing things that require high computational loads, right? That sort of stuff. Truly, your power users are the ones going to be using kind of that third tier. And then beyond that, we have some add-on services. So I mentioned that that we provide a solution that provides access to files, applications, and desktops, right? So Office 365, so we can include an E3 license along with that. If you have your own licensing, you can bring your own licensing too. File sync and share, right? Talked a little bit about OneDrive and ShareFile, how we can integrate that. But I think that something that I'm really excited about is iGel is part of our offering too, right? So we can
so much
also,
up.
I know. So one of the things that we can offer are really cost-effective, really cool devices from iGel. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've worked with every single thin client manufacturer. Accelera, for full disclosure, we're a partner with all of them too, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I personally was a Wise customer in my former life. So again, right? So that tying in that customer experience that I have. So I've worked with Wise thin clients before. I used to manage our thin clients at the bank. And anyway, so what really excites me about iGel is that right now they're doing a wide variety of really, really cool things. So they've got this basically thin client on a USB drive called UD Pocket, which I think is really, really cool, really interesting. I actually have a demo video of that on our website. So if anybody's interested, come to our website. You can take a look at it there. They have their cloud gateway product, right? So this is really something that's really key. This is really what enables us to offer thin clients within Connected Workspace. And I think it's really important. We talk a lot over the years. We've talked a lot about bring your own device, bring your own device, bring your own device as a driver for virtual applications and desktops. But really, not everyone's going to do that, right? Not everyone's going to hop on their bring your own device bandwagon. So people still have desktops at their desks provided by the organization. And why not save some room? Why not save a couple of bucks, right? By replacing that expensive desktop that's sitting on your desk, eating up expensive and very valuable desk space, right? Why not replace that with an easy to use thin client, right? So that's why we decided to include that.
I hate the word thin client. I call secure managed devices or access points, right?
I like that. I'm going to wipe that from my vocabulary.
Thin client has such a negative connotation because it's been around for so long, right? Oh, I tried that, it doesn't work. Or oh, I tried it, I didn't like it, And it's like, yeah, I tried, a lot of things too, and then I went back and tried it again, and it's like, oh, I used to not like broccoli. I love broccoli nowadays, but it's not calling it thin client broccoli, right? But I like the way you describe it. It's just a better way. To me, there's certain types of users out there that require mobility. They're great for, that's a great laptop use case, right? There's types of users that just do office work all day, right? Me.
Right.
For the most part, unless I'm traveling, I'm on Office, right? Office is the number one used app for me by far. And or a web browser, well, I can do that on a managed secure access point, right? And have sort of outsource the management of that device to a nice, secure, essentially managed tool that's just easy to use versus going and building all this infrastructure and trying to go and manage a device that wasn't made to be centrally managed by design, called Windows, right?
Exactly.
There's use cases, and I see a good chunk of users within a business today that are great for that type of device. Not everybody, the same way as everyone doesn't need a laptop or everyone doesn't need a power PC, So I'm glad you brought up IGEL. I was going to ask you. I wasn't going to let you get out without, if we can go down that path. Well, one more question about it. What are your customers saying about the IGEL? Let's just leave out. We'll leave out IGEL itself, unless you want to maybe give an example of an IGEL solution. But what are they saying when you say, okay, we have our connected device, and we also want to talk to you, consult with you about, hey, maybe using some thin clients, some secure access points. Here's some location. What do they say? What's the feedback you get, or maybe pushback you get too?
Yeah. So when I sit down with them and I demo IGEL in front of them, or whenever one of my guys demos IGEL in front of them, usually the first word that comes out of their mouth is "wow," right? They're really impressed with the how easy it is to configure the devices, right? Think about this, right? Let's do a quick mental exercise real quick. So if I have an IGEL solution, that's completely configured already, I can use a UD Pocket, right? And a UD Pocket doesn't really store anything. I can plug that UD Pocket into my computer working from home, right? Boot into the IGEL OS and automatically get linked up with my applications and desktops, right? There's something magical about that, right? There's something magical about the fact that I don't really have to do much of anything. Just log in and I plug this little device in, and I have my enterprise applications and my desktop and my data. I mean, to me, that's really, really, really cool. So when customers see that, there's definitely that wow moment. They also, getting into the more nitty-gritty stuff, they also are very impressed with the management tool, the IGEL management tool, right? It's a drag and drop interface, really straightforward to set up and configure. Within a couple of hours, I mean, we can have a server stood up. This is, if this was on premise, we could have a server stood up. We can have some thin clients already configured and up and running. So it's something that we can showcase very, very easily to our customers. We're working with a manufacturing company in Pennsylvania, and they came to us because they were using old Wise Think clients, and we kind of went through the gamut of the different iGel secure managed devices, right? And had them demo it for a couple of days, and they just instantly, our customer instantly kind of took to it, and anyway, so he's making a really nice purchase of them. We're also working with a university, a local university here, and they want a pretty substantial order of the Think clients. So they're trying to replace the computers that they have in their labs, right? And again, they really kind of took to how easy it is to manage these things, right? You don't have to invest a lot of time and energy in managing your end devices. It's again just really ease of use, ease of administration, and just the fact that there's so much flexibility within the platform, right? I keep mentioning the UD Pocket. It's just so mind-blowingly cool when you see it happen. It's such a simple concept, but really, that's where the really cool things happen, right? They start with just really simple concepts. Once they see that and the things you can do with it, just their mind just kind of, you can see that the lights kind of turn on, right, in the back of their eyes. So it's just really, really neat stuff. And again, it comes down to the manageability and the ease of use.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really almost the same story from the client perspective as it is from the server perspective, right? Or from it's like what XenApp, what Citrix brings to the delivery of applications. iGel with their management, the iGel solution, not just a thin client, right? Anybody can sell a small little box with a CPU in it that boots up a basic operating system, right? That's nothing. It's the solution, it's the management of the device, right? It's the same way as Citrix is the management of the desktop, right? I think that what iGel brings to the table is that the same story that Citrix is doing for the desktop and the application, but iGel's doing it for the device itself,
Right.
And because Citrix will take you, to the device, but they don't take you beyond the device, right?
Exactly.
So now you're left really out there with, hey, I still got to manage my device. That's great that I don't have to install the app, but my device is sitting out there and it's a security guy. I'm extremely vulnerable. I'm having issues. I've just been hacked. I can't work, and they're expensive too. Now I'm going off, right? I sound like an evangelist. Gee,
no, but
you like that?
I like that a lot. So, but now that you mentioned that, right? So there's a couple of points there that I kind of wanted to hit on. So one of the things that I like about the iGel platform is that it is vendor neutral, and by that I mean it supports VMware and Citrix just fine, right? That's one of the things that I really like about it. They're not necessarily just a Citrix partner, right? They're not Citrix. That's just not necessarily Citrix focused and not necessarily VMware focused. So me, as an integrator, as a consultant, that's very important to me because I want to make sure that customers from time to time, they move from one platform to another. It happens. It doesn't happen that often, but it happens, right? And I want to make sure that I'm recommending a platform to my customers that can grow with them and change with them. So that's one thing that I like about the iGel solution. The other thing that I like, and you said the S word, security.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember a month ago or 8 weeks ago, the whole thing with the WannaCry malware that was out there.
Yep.
That's a Windows specific piece of malware that affected Microsoft Windows. Well, with the iGel OS, you get reduced footprint just because it doesn't have as many services and things running on it as a kind of a full-blown PC operating system would. And it comes in a Linux OS version, right? So you're automatically protected from things like WannaCry just because you're not running WannaCry. I'm sorry, you're not running Microsoft Windows. Definitely. You definitely don't want that. But because you're not running Microsoft Windows on the end device. So I remember, as an end customer, there was a time where we had a virus, kind of infect one of our branches. Well, we had to go out. We had to send guys out there to essentially replace every piece of equipment. We had to prep every piece of equipment before we went out there to replace it. And, it was a big effort for us to go on site to replace this stuff. If we had been running something like the iGel OS on our end devices, we never would have had to have worried about that, right? We never would have had to do that because we would have just kind of been automatically protected.
Yeah, exactly. And let's, as I do work for iGel. I work for DABCC and iGel. So I'm independent and I work for a company too. So let's say, hey, it could be any thin client vendor. Just make sure that thin client vendor does what we're talking about. That's
exactly.
the key, right? It can be anybody. Exactly. Just make sure they do what we're talking about. And we know the iGel does it. Do the others, guys? That's up to you to decide if they don't. But let's just pretend that they did. They don't. So
good point, Doug.
Yeah. So I love it. I love it. This is fun. I'm having fun. And if I'm having fun, hopefully the guys out there listening are having fun.
Yeah, me too.
So I always say, hey, let's have a little bit of fun in life, right? We can have fun and we can work hard at the same time. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. It doesn't. We were not going to have a boring conversation today. A little bit of my.
I sure hope that people find this conversation valuable.
Yeah, me too. I do too. Not just fun, but valuable, of course. See what else. What have I left out? Let's see, where am I going here? This is, we do, as the guys know, I talk about this from time to time on the podcast. So we do have a loose list of questions or talking points that we put together to make sure we don't end up in left field, which a lot of times we do end up in left field, but that's usually some of the better podcasts because we're having.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay. I'm cool with left field.
Yeah, me too. As long as you catch the ball and it's not actually, you do want the home run, unless of course for the home team. Yeah, depends who's playing defense. So
there you go.
Are you a baseball fan by chance?
I am not a baseball fan at all. Yeah. Well, listen. So I enjoy going to games and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, we were at the Nats game yesterday. So we were with another partner. We were enjoying the Nats game. So yes, I enjoy going to games. My father-in-law is a big baseball fan. He loves the Indians.
Well,
and I don't know why, but I don't think anyone knows why.
No,
but anyway. No one, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I'm not a huge sports person. I will tell you this: I am a fan of mixed martial arts.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, I remember. So my grandfather, he was big into boxing.
Yeah.
And growing up, I could never get into it. So I remember being an 8-year-old sitting in the living room. My grandfather getting really excited about the fight, and he's talking about it, right? You can see his face light up.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get into it because I always had this thought in my mind. I always thought, I'm like, well, why doesn't that guy kick that guy in the face and then the fight is over? Right?
I've never had that on my podcast. 200 some episodes, I've never had someone say kick somebody in the face. That's a new one, but it's a very good
in the face, and the fight's done. This is a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting if you have that aspect, that dimension, sure, to the fight.
The kicking in the face.
The kicking in the face. And so now as an adult, I had one of my friends. So again, I don't follow a whole lot of sports. One of my friends, he kind of got me into mixed martial arts. So, so now I've kind of found my passion in that. So that's the one sport that I would say I have some sort of passion in. I don't follow it to a huge degree, but I do. I keep my eye on it, and I do watch the fights and just, so that's the only thing that from a sports perspective that I really like.
Well, I don't have an analogy for, hitting, hit a home run. I don't know, what would that be? I guess it would be kicking the guy in the face, right?
Kicking the guy in the face, knocking him out. Yeah,
knock him out.
You knock him out, man.
You want to knock him out. You don't want to knock the customer out. You want to knock out the success.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blow my customer away.
Are you old enough
by providing an awesome experience and an awesome service? That I want to do.
That's what you do. Are you old enough to remember the Muhammad Ali fights then?
I am. Yep.
I am too. I didn't appreciate it as a child because back then boxing was huge. And it was on TV too. Nowadays it's on pay-per-view or whatever, back
Right,
then it was
right,
on, ABC's Wide World of Sports or whatever. Right. And,
right.
but yeah, I remember watching Muhammad Ali as a kid, and my parents, or my father and my grandpa, saying, "You don't know, this is Muhammad Ali. Do you understand who you're watching?" I'm like, no, I have no clue.
Nope, no,
But
no idea.
I do remember it though, and I liked boxing. So, and then of course in my 20s I had Tyson. So what more fun can
Yes,
you have?
Tyson. Yeah,
Tyson was great to watch that guy just annihilate people within a minute and a half or something like that.
yeah. He was awesome. He was
What?
awesome.
He was awesome. Then he lost his way. Well, then he ended up in jail, and we were not going to go down that path.
And getting a face tattoo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you know you've gone down the wrong end, the face.
Right, right. Yeah, there might be a problem when that happens, or you bite a piece of somebody's ears off. That's also a problem too. I think.
Okay,
I think
we've
that's a problem.
we've digressed. So, hey, at the end of the day, why do I care about what Accelera is doing? My last couple questions are always the future competition in the future, right? So let's get to those real quick. Why do I care about what you guys are doing? Both in your, in your managed services, your DaaS solution, and also just in your business in general. Why Accelera versus, let's say, Accelerate or whatever? I don't know, maybe there is a company called Accelerate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Great question. So, so what I'd like to kind of tell our folks is that our customers is that there's three things that we know, and we know them really well. First thing that we know is cloud, right? Cloud was a manifestation of virtualization. If virtualization never happened, we wouldn't see cloud how we see it today, right? So we know cloud very well. We're in the market years ago when there was nobody doing it. We invested in creating our own multi-tenant desktop as a service solution, right? We've gotten acclaim and awards for being a lead cloud service provider. So we know cloud. We also know desktops really well, right? We know how to deliver a desktop to end users in various different ways. We don't just do virtual desktops too, right? We also do more traditional, local, device sort of stuff, right? You have a Windows 7 or Windows 10 installed on your local device, right? We also provide Microsoft services around that sort of stuff. So we haven't just pigeonholed ourselves into the virtual desktop space. We know desktops in general. I actually led our efforts to obtain our Windows and devices gold competency with Microsoft because, again, just being able to deliver Windows 10 to end user devices, to me, that mission is critical to our business, and it goes beyond virtualization. So that's the second thing that I think that we know very well. And I think the third thing that I think is really critical, that I think that really kind of separates us from some other folks, is that what I'm seeing in the desktops as a service marketplace are DaaS providers who specialize in one market and one market only. So recently, Accelera is part of a pilot program with Citrix with other Citrix service providers. And as I looked into around that room, there were just really highly specialized providers out there because there's only one thing that they know, right? That's great. That's great that that's all they know, but we know more, right? And just to be greedy and kind of pump our chests a little bit, we know more than them, right? We've worked with federal agencies for a very long time. We have extensive experience trying to meet the unique security mandates and requirements of federal agencies. We are experts in multi-factor and certificate-based authentication. And as a matter of fact, we know FedRAMP. We know FedRAMP really well. FedRAMP is the part of almost every single conversation that we have with customers, and we have the capability because of Microsoft Azure to build a FedRAMP compliant desktop as a service platform for federal customers. So we know that industry really well. We also do a lot of work with healthcare organizations. So we know kind of the unique challenges involved in delivering applications and and desktops to doctors and clinics, right? We know how critical time is to patient care, right? 10 seconds in patient care is a very, very long time, especially when those 10 seconds add up from day to day, from patient to patient. So because of that, we're also capable of standing up a connected workspace solution within a HIPAA compliant platform. And then I think probably the third thing that I'll say too is that we are very flexible, right? We can have this, we can create a truly custom solution to meet our customer needs. We know what it's like to integrate hundreds of we've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of applications, and we know how to integrate them with a solution like ours. And so anyway, so we're very flexible, right? We could give, if our customer wants to manage their own desktop image, go ahead and do that, right? If that's something that you enjoy doing, something that you think is really critical to your business, do that. If you want us to do it, we're more than happy to do that, right? So if you want to change the look and feel of the solution, we're more than happy to do that too, right? So you can truly have, a customer branded solution that is either partially managed by the customer or and vice versa. So we like to work with our customers. Again, like I mentioned kind of at the beginning of the podcast, we like to really truly understand our customer needs, and we will create an offering around that. We have our standard stuff, right? I mentioned that we have standard enterprise, right, and kind of high performance desktop. So there is definitely some things that are packaged, but that's not necessarily going to be the silver bullet for all customers, and that's why I think being flexible and having kind of just the industry expertise that we've accumulated over 15 years, I think that's critical to really providing a great customer platform.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll leave it at that. That's your value prop. I won't add to it or take away from it. I love it. Is what at the end of the day, I love it. I love to hear what you said. And at the beginning of the podcast, you said some things, and I said, okay, we'll get to that. We'll talk about the future. So here's where do you see the future going? The world's changing, right? I mean, I've said this for the 11 years I've been podcasting. What a great time it is to be in IT. But truly, what a great time it is to be in IT, right? Because everything is sort of exploding. So what do you think? Where do you see it? What turns you on nowadays about IT?
So I'm really excited about what the future holds for kind of end user computing in general. So if we start looking at the things that are happening out there, right, we have cloud services that are powering applications and devices, right? iGel being one of them, right? There's lots of interesting things happening in the wearable market. I think, right now when I look at the wearable market, it's pretty volatile right now. I was looking over kind of some industry data about the wearable market. It's currently kind of flat, right? Yeah. But you still see people like Apple and Google heavily investing in the wearable market. I think there's some very interesting use cases there. I mean, I heard the other day that with Apple Watch you can detect like irregular heart rhythms, right, and kind of take proactive action against that, right? So to me, wearables are very, very interesting. I think there's still a lot of innovation to happen there. And then, I think that there's also some interesting things from a device perspective, just in the overall IoT space. So right now, I see IoT as at least in the consumer market, as it being more of a hobbyist sort of thing, right? It's
you still think so?
Yeah, I still think so, right? I think the barrier of entry is pretty high. Here's the way that I like to think of technology. If my wife can easily understand it, then it is consumer ready.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if my wife has to spend a bunch of time learning the technology, that consumer barrier of entry is still pretty darn high, right? Yeah. And so I personally started investing in getting smart bulbs around the house. So somebody gave me a Amazon Echo, which, by the way, I never would have bought an Echo on my own, right? Yeah. But once I bought it, I really got into it, right? Then I started buying some Philips Hue light bulbs, so I have them all throughout the house. But even that took me some time to get spun up on, figure out how it works and get it set up. We're seeing companies like Apple and Google trying to make it easier. I mean, Apple rolled out HomeKit a couple of years ago, but quite honestly, that really hasn't done a whole ton to make things easier.
Yeah, HomeKit.
So,
of course.
Yeah, so I think people are trying to figure that out. When I look at Citrix, right, I look at what they're trying to do in that space, and as you know, they bought Octoblue a couple of years ago, and they still quite haven't productized that offering. I was talking to one of the product managers of Synergy this year, just because I really wanted to, I hear IoT everywhere, right? IoT. And I really wanted to get a better understanding of what their roadmap was and where they were going. And right now, I think they're doing a lot of proof of concepts. They're showcasing a lot of cool things, but they still haven't figured out how they're going to make money doing it, right?
The money part is the difficulty. It is a difficult part. What they're doing around it, because it is sort of this service. Octoblue is phenomenal, what you can do with it. I mean, it's just such a brilliant. Chris Fleck is such a truly brilliant guy, and I love what Octoblue does.
Yeah,
keep
me
going.
too.
Please keep going.
Yeah, but again, right? But who's using Octoblue, right? My wife isn't signing. But my wife isn't logging on. You see what I'm saying?
See, the problem with IoT is, or I think you're coming at it from the consumer side of Octoblue, or from IoT. But IoT is so much more. IoT is everything. It's the one thing that really truly encompasses everything. So you have industrial IoT, right, which is fully in full stream right now, with companies that are using sensors. Oil companies are dropping sensors into oil rig or oil wells and finding oil that they didn't know was there, and they're getting better value out of those. So they're not digging new wells, and they're price of oil's dropping, what have you, right? They're making bigger profits, everything. But where there's so much on that side of IoT where we're connecting the unconnected. Right? They're putting, they're getting data out. And as a customer that understands their customer, or a business that understands their customer through analytics is going to be a better business, right? They're going to be able to provide a better service.
All about the data.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things that we're seeing heavily in business IoT, is that we're able to connect things that were not connected and then get data off of them. Understand the analytics piece of that, right? And then in return, make better decisions and give better products or better services, right? And that's in full swing nowadays, right? The IoT from the consumer side, and when you bring up Philip Hue, I love Philip Hue. I pre-ordered Hue, believe it or not.
Did you?
I've spent more than my fair share of money, more money than anyone should ever spend on light bulbs in a lifetime.
They're expensive. They're expensive.
So they are expensive. And I tell you, in the early days, they were more expensive, which is nowadays they're cheap compared to what I paid for the original bulbs, right? But and I just set them up last night in my home. Yes, in my home in Berlin, because I had them all in America, but we just moved into a new flat in Berlin, and so we just hooked them up, and I got the motion. Do you have a motion sensors and all that stuff? You've been playing with any of that?
Yeah, so I have one motion sensor, so I've been playing with that a little bit. My wife finds it completely irritating and annoying.
Yes,
I find it to be really cool and magical.
Exactly.
So we have a difference in opinion.
And where did you put the motion sensor?
So originally I put it. We have we have a restroom near our living room.
Okay.
So originally I was like, how cool would it be to have people over, right? They'll walk into the restroom and the lights automatically come on.
Exactly.
Right? Isn't that cool, right?
Yes.
What if, right? You go to the restroom in the middle of the night or whatever. Wouldn't it be cool for you not to have to worry about finding the light switch? It automatically comes on.
Exactly.
Well, here's what I found out.
Touch the light switch. They just, right. Then wash your hands. Come on.
Right.
Don't touch it. Just walk in, walk out.
Who wants to touch anything?
Yes.
So, but what I found was, I started noticing people, and myself included, we're so wired into washing our hands, and then after that turning off the light.
Yeah.
That it just became useless.
Yeah. Yeah. At that point, you turn off the hue, and once you turn it off, it can't be turned on and off through via the.
Exactly. So then what I did was I moved it into our main bedroom. So now if we get up, we have a 1-year-old. He just turned 1 yesterday.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And yep, thank you. And he's got his crib in our bedroom with us, and it's so much easier kind of getting up in the middle of the night and having the motion detection in there and automatically turn on the lights and dim them.
Yeah.
That's really, really useful. I really like that a lot. So we're playing around with that. If that doesn't work, if my wife continues to be in with that, I don't know what I'm going to do. To be honest, but
I have
the hallway.
In the hallway because she's like. At first, I said I had mapped the whole thing. I literally mapped it out. I wrote a document on. This is what each light we have in the house. This is where we're going to put the hues. This is where we're going to have the dimmer switches. Did you buy one of the cool dimmer switches yet?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
no, not
that
yet.
I highly recommend.
Okay.
It's really cool because it also sticks to the wall. So you have a plate. It looks just like a normal light switch thing, but you can it's a remote too, and you can pull it off. And she really liked that. So, the girl likes it. You're in like Flynn, right? And,
Right.
it's really great. And, but you can turn it up and down. You can dim it. You can carry it around. You can turn it on and off. You can also click the on button to make it change different scenes. So, go from red to yellow to blue or whatever, right?
Right.
So I highly recommend that. But I put the dimmer in. So now when we walk in, because you walk in, it's dark and you're like fumbling for the switch. So it's right in our entrance to the house. In that one, we don't turn on and off, but
Okay, gotcha.
I am trying to teach her, don't turn off the lights, use this.
Stop it.
Yes, exactly. It is a learning curve. But
so one thing that you hit on about kind of enterprise IoT, because you're right,
sure.
I was really focused on end user IoT. You're talking about enterprise IoT.
Sure.
So that kind of leads me to kind of the next point, which is artificial intelligence.
Oh,
right. So right, we have IoT, couple that with artificial intelligence, right? We're gonna start seeing some really, really interesting and cool things happening there as well. I mean, right now everyone's talking about artificial intelligence. NVIDIA was in our offices a little while ago to talk to us about, leveraging their cards to power artificial intelligence workloads. So I think, to your point, right, we have devices now everywhere collecting data. You need something to make sense of it, right? And what do you do with it? And what does the data mean, right? You can collect all the data in the world, but if you can't comb through it, you don't know what it means, it's really useless. It's just taking up space, right? So I think there's going to be some interesting things there that we're going to start seeing there as well. So anyway,
and it's a symbiotic relationship. You need the device to give the data, and you need the in AI in order for it to work, or machine learning, or whatever you want to call that. Needs we need each other, right? The data by itself is useless, and AI, an algorithm without data is useless. And the reason we have AI or machine learning today is because we have all this data. The machines aren't really learning. What they're doing is they're understanding data, right? And that's what we can program. In fact, when I'm done with this podcast, I'm going to go for a little walk around the block and get myself a drink, and not a good drink, but like a bottle of Coke, actually, and, Diet Coke, I might add. Sadly. But
yeah, definitely not a good drink.
Yeah. It's back to that, as we talked earlier. You get older, you get fat. So you gotta. It's vicious.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, life isn't as much fun as it should be. Anyway, and I'll listen to an AI book. So I'm listening to I'm fascinated by this subject. So it's either AI or IoT is what I listen to nowadays. It's only acronyms, I guess. If it's an acronym,
it's only acronym. Right. If it's not an acronym, forget about it.
Yeah, VDI, DAS, DA. At least we pronounce it DAS instead of DAAS.
Oh my God! Just imagine saying that a million times during the day.
Oh,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, buddy. You know what? I don't even know how long we've talked, but we've talked a long time, and I have so much fun with this. So, and I think you need to get going too. So, we'll go ahead and call this an episode. I'll give you the last word and say thank you very much. So is there anything we left out? Is there anything else you want to tell us about what you guys are doing? Anything else you want to talk about in general?
No, I mean, just, Doug, appreciate you having me on your podcast. I've had a great time, chatting with you today, and I really hope that everybody got got something valuable out of this conversation. If you guys, anybody listening, if you're interested in learning more about our Connected Workspace solution, or interested in hearing more about Accelera Solutions, go to accelerasolutions.com. Or just Google Accelera Solutions, right? It's probably going to be a lot easier than typing that entire URL in. Or you can reach out to me. I'm on Twitter at José Arvelo, JoseArvelo. Or you can email me directly at josea@accelerasolutions.com.
Perfect. Buddy, thank you so much. And I was going to say, how do we learn more? Well, you're one step ahead of me, which is great. I love that.
Try to think ahead here. I'm trying to think ahead.
You are one step ahead of me. So thank you again so much for taking the time to do this with us today. So thank you.
Thanks, Dad, and enjoy your walk and your Diet Coke.
Yeah, my Diet Coke. Yeah. Shh. I'm only allowed one Coke per day. So I already had it, but we'll slide this one in. Don't tell them.
I won't tell. It's a
Okay.
secret. You're amongst friends here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Thanks, buddy.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Okay, so that concludes another very long DABCC radio episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it. You could tell that we were having fun, and hopefully you learned a lot. I did. It's always fun to talk with Jose. He's really just a great guy, and Accelera is a great company, so check out what they're doing, and check out all the fun stuff we talked about too. What else do I say? But I hope you liked it, and if you do, please tell a friend. That's how we grow. As I always say, we don't do advertising. We grow from word of mouth. So if you like the podcast show, please tell a friend, tweet about it, put it on LinkedIn, blog about it, do whatever, smoke signals, DABCC, and Morse code via some smoke signals. That would be interesting. Video that and send it to me, please. Guys, also definitely check out www.dabcc.com for the latest and greatest virtualization news and support resources. Not just virtualization, though. That's almost dated because it is dated. I've been saying it for so long because this podcast show is 11 years old now, almost 12. We do everything: cloud, desktop, virtualization, security, storage, mobility, artificial intelligence, IoT. IoT is something very close to my heart, as so is AI. I'm really enjoying reading a lot about that and learning a lot about it and playing a lot with it. So, and of course, check out igel.com because that's really amazing stuff over there. Well, what else do I say? Totally amazing stuff. Well, I know what else to say. Thank you very much for listening to DABCC Radio.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.